up in a home where everybody in that compound house were MPP. And so it was only my mom. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't understand why everybody would always be talking against Rawlings. And so I set up on the path to discover myself. I mean, who is Rawlings? Yeah. And so I just began following everything Rawlings. And I used to watch a lot of TV at the time. Those were the days where I could tell you the program lineup from Monday to Sunday, every single time, what is showing on GTV. and so I followed Rawlings, and I got to know that, I mean, this is a man who is principled. This is a man who is a man of vision, a man of transformation. And I don't know why everybody is, talking against Rawlings. And so that was when the interest started. But along the line, I realized that I was just built for it. I had an innate desire, to serve. Most importantly, an innate desire to serve. And so it started just unveiling itself from primary school to junior secondary school to secondary school. And so in secondary school, I was SRC president, I was school prefect, and it just kept on building. Those days were the days of the Greater Accra Regional SRC at the second cycle level. And I played a very critical role in the student politics at the time, even before I entered University of Ghana. And so it has been politics, and a desire to serve. But underneath that desire was also one desire to become a medical doctor. Oh. And so
that aspect was also there.
Yes. I mean, that aspect of my life traveled with me from childhood until about 2010.
It never happened.
Yes. Until 2010, I still wanted to go and do medicine. Wow. When I finished secondary school, because I wanted to do medicine and because parents were not positioned, my mom alone, I lost my dad early, so my mom alone could not do that. And so I wanted to travel outside. And I remember applying to any university in America, and I was getting admission, full scholarship, and I would go to the embassy and they would refuse me. They refused me about almost 6 times. Whoa. Yes, I'm telling you, continuous. And I would go with a different I-20 admission, full scholarship, and I'll be refused. And so I said, okay, then if this medicine thing is not working, it's not working outside, let me just try, go to Legon and see if I can do it here. God will provide. And so I applied, and expecting to get, those days you do biological science before you go to the medical school. And for some funny reason, the admission came and they've given me a Greek. And I said,
instead of
I said, how? Why should I do a Greek? I mean, I can't do this. Yeah. And so a lady in my church, Mrs. Satolik, I spoke to her and she said, Peter, this thing, you need to go and try, but I have a friend who is a lecturer in the university. So let's go and see her if she can do something for you. She's called Dr. Anderson at the time. She became Professor Anderson. Okay. A very beautiful woman, very wonderful woman. So I went to her and she encouraged me that, oh, really, you've gotten a Greek. It's one of the best courses you can do if you want to do medicine. So I encourage you to go and do a Greek. Just major in animal science. And when you are done with the first degree, you can do postgraduate medicine. Okay. And that time, the medical school was picking about 25 to 30 students a year from the biological science class. And that's a very huge class. Yeah. Sometimes about 200, 250 students. They'll pick only 20. And so it's more competitive there. So she encouraged me that, okay, go and do the animal science and do postgraduate medicine. So, I heeded to the advice. And I started doing that Greek. And when I started, it was very difficult. Okay, I've been giving Komoto, you have the admission. But even how to pay your fees was a problem. And luckily, I got some benefactors who paid half of my fees. And that was all the fees I paid in my 4 years in Legon. Half of my admission fees. Really? That was all the fees I paid. After the first year, my GPA was around 3.98, and I got scholarship.
That's full scholarship. And the scholarship you'll be wanting
elsewhere. Yes, I got full scholarship from the student aid office, and I also got some from Finna Trade Foundation. I don't know whether they are still in existence, but they were giving those scholarships to the best agric students at the time. And so I got that scholarship as well. So I was getting some stipends. Very quite sizable from Finna Trade, and the fees was also covered. Yeah. and so life started changing on campus just from first year. Then the passion for student leadership was on the side. So just growing like that. When I finished university. In fact, in third year, I combined agric economics and animal science.
Okay.
And I remember one of our professors, in fact, he incidentally became my supervisor when I was doing my PhD in agric economics. And I remember he called me to the office and he said, Peter, the way you are going, the way you are doing student leadership, you end up in politics. And you are one of the best in agric economics. So I advise that you major in agric economics. Then I told him that, oh, Prof, I want to be a medical doctor, so I'm going to major in animal science so that
I can get to where
so that I can become a medical doctor. And guess what? I took that path, finished school. Then immediately I finished. In fact, the day I wrote my last paper, the next day, I was actually on a radio program on behalf of the NDC, speaking for the NDC. The next day after I wrote my last paper.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, because, I mean, in the final years, I had been involved in a lot of things. And so I wrote my last paper, I think, on Tuesday, and the next day, I was representing NDC somewhere.
And that's how
that's how it began. And so even throughout national service, I was all over the place. I mean, I was one of the key spokespersons of the party. Then we won power. When we won power, I mean, repositioning and all that, I was still thinking about medical school. And so I think it was in 2009 when we wanted to do our national elections. I contested for Deputy National Propaganda Secretary.
Propaganda Secretary?
Yes. And I lost by some 4 votes. And when I lost, I said, okay, now this is the time. Let me see if I can go to the medical school. Then, just at that time, I was employed at the office of the president. And my assignment, I was the head of research at the communications directorate. So my assignment was to work on research material for the communication director at the time, Koko Anyidoho. Yeah. And so most of the materials, most of the materials I was working on was economics. And, you know, with my background in agric economics, I had done all the foundational economics. So I mean, I had a clearer understanding, and I would do all the work for the speeches of Professor Mills and all that. And so along there, I said, but this thing, I guess this is what I'm going to do. Because I've been speaking on economics and writing and all those things. So I said, okay, then let me look at it. Let me abandon this medicine thing. Yeah. I mean, because we are also in power and I have a lot of work to be done. I mean, living to go and study. I mean, it was a 4 years program at the time, postgraduate medicine. And so living and all that would be too much. And so let me just, you know, grow along the line. So I did my first master's in animal breeding. Then immediately I switched to economics. And I did master's in economics at the Accounts department. Then after that, we were still in government. And so, I mean, man was growing in the politics. And there are a lot of responsibilities in the political line, playing several roles in the party and all that. So then it means that I can only progress along that line, which would enhance my contribution to national development, because then I was involved more into policy. And I was doing a lot of things relating to policy. And so when I did my master's, I just decided to do my PhD. And at the time, it was difficult because we were in government. I had been appointed deputy CEO to National Youth Authority and all that. So I decided to pick an online PhD in finance at the SMC University. Then I was doing that, but along the line again, it became very topical, online PhD. I mean, there were all problems, you know. I said, listen, let me just kill it. and do a proper one. I mean, so, but I did that. And I think with all the works that we were doing at the time, I had become the head of research, the deputy head of research for the party. Then 2016, we just lost elections. Then I said, okay, this is the opportunity.
Let me just go and do this.
Immediately, I just applied to go. Actually, I was going to do development economics at the Accounts department. Professor Peter Korte, who was the head of department at the time when I was doing my master's, had encouraged me to proceed and do the development economics. So I actually bought the forms and went to him that, oh, Prof, I'm applying. So on my way out of campus, I met Professor Bruce Sapon, the same professor who said,
you get to this,
you need to do Then I met him. I said, oh, Prof, I wanted to apply to come and do development. They said, I told you.
You go there.
I told you. You needed to do this. But why aren't you coming to do agri-economics? Then I said, oh, are you sure about that? And I didn't do the first degree agri-economics. Will it work? He said, okay, apply. So I put in the application. And according to them, those who applied, when I went for the interview and wrote the exams, I scored the highest, so they admitted me. And that was it.
Oh, man. You've got some, interesting journey in education as well. This is incredible.